morning, students. My name is Mrs. Sonja van Wyk, your tutor for the course Early Childhood Reading Development for 2020. The code course for this subject is CEC ELRD12, and this is your content-based context session for 2020. I've greet you all, so I just want to welcome you to this presentation for this subject, and I really hope that you will enjoy your studies this year and that you will be successful at the end of this year. You will find all my contact details on the last slide of this presentation. The times that you can contact me is on the screen. That will be from Mondays to Fridays from 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 o'clock in the evenings. You can contact me via phone, via SMS, or an email. It would be preferable that you send me an email if you need any assistance. In the latter case, I will reply with a detailed answer. I am more than willing to assist you in any case of problems you may experience regarding the subject or the examination or the assignments. As you have noticed by now, the content matter for this subject is quite an extensive workload for the academic year. I will advise you to start studying well in advance. By doing so and paying special attention to this presentation, you may be successful and pass this subject this year. There are a few general information tips that I want to give you. To fully understand this subject, you will have to read through and study all the units in the study guide. Thoroughly work through the learning outcomes as well as the learning activities in each unit. All examination scripts are set up in 3 different levels. Each question usually starts with a verb. Therefore, it is very important that you should pay special attention to these verbs. You will find a well-constructed list of these verbs and their meanings in the beginning of your study guide. Guys, please make sure that you understand these verbs because they will guide you on how to answer the questions. The most common verbs that will lead a question will be for the level 1 questions. It will be words or verbs like define. I'm not going to give you the definition of what define means or what describe means. It's next to the verb, so you can just make sure that you know what each one is. Level 1 questions will mostly start with define, describe, outline, explain, clarify, list, state, name something. Level 2 questions will start with verbs like discuss, compare, determine, differentiate. And level 3 questions will start with verbs like compare, contrast. I just want to point out that when you must contrast something, you must point out the differences, not the similarities. Another level 3 verbs for questions can be critically discuss and to argue about an issue. Then I would like to make I would ask you please write neatly and legibly. If you had to list or to state or to name or to outline or to define or explain something, a very helpful hint is to write and dot or mark the facts underneath each other, starting each one in a new line. Then, listing cannot be done when you are asked to summarize an issue. Some questions will expect you to construct the given facts from your study guide, but in your own words. Then, please note, there will only be one presentation that will be recorded for the examinations written in April, August, and November 2020. All references in this presentation are from your study guide. Then you must please remember the information regarding the content of the different units in this presentation are just guidelines to use. This is not a scope of the examination script. I want you to study the correct answers from your returned assignments. For at least 20% of these questions can be asked and will be asked in the examination again. Then the format, it's important to discuss the format of the examination scripts. All 3 examination scripts will count out of 100 marks. All questions with sub-questions should be answered. All questions are compulsory. The duration time for the question papers is 2 hours. Then I want you to ask your questions and read your questions very carefully. Students, please make sure that you understand what I'm asking. The marks allocated at each question are a guideline for the amount of facts needed. Now I'm going to move over to Unit 1. The first unit, Unit 1, is the importance of literature in early childhood learners' development. Number 1.1, there is a definition of literature and early childhood development. You must be able to define literature and early childhood development. In number 1.3, name the different genres of early childhood literature. Then, what is the difference between a picture book and a picture story book? A picture book and a picture story book is 1 or 2 of these genres for early childhood literature. You must be able to give the differences between a picture book and a picture story book. 1.5.1, define the concept visual perception. Make sure that you know what visual perception is. 1.5.3, what is emergent literacy skills? What does emergent literacy skills means? You will find that on page 23. Then we move over to 1.5.7. How can a child's self-esteem be supported? You as a teacher or a becoming teacher, as well maybe as one day a parent, should know how to boost or how to support a child's self-esteem. This is very important to know how you can boost a child's self-esteem. In Unit 2, we look at the selected theories of the reading process. 2.1, what is the 4 types of reading? There are 4 types of reading. What are the 4 types of reading? Explain the following types of reading. You must be able to explain each one of them. Body reading, compared reading, silent reading. You must be able to explain each one of them. In 2.2, explain independent reading and body reading. What is meant by independent reading and what is meant by body reading? In 2.3, what is the developmental stages when learning to read? There are certain stages that follows one by one, and you must be able to tell me what is the developmental stages when a child is going or learning to read. In Unit 3 is the effective practices of teaching early childhood reading. 3.1, name activities, different activities, how to improve visual perception. You must be able to explain that activities, not only to write down a jigsaw puzzle or hide and seek, playing hide and seek. You must be able to explain the activities as well. In 3.1, I want you to know the definition of the concept visual discrimination. What does visual discrimination means? And also, you must be able to define visual memory that you will find on page 108. 3.4. What is a multimodal book? When is a book, a storybook, a multimodal book? 3.5. Which types of books are suitable for reading aloud to pre-primary learners? Which types of books are suitable for reading aloud to pre-primary learners? Students, make sure there are a difference between reading aloud to learners and pre-primary learners. So go and look on page 139 to 140 for this answer. The types of books that are suitable for reading aloud to pre-primary learners. Then Unit 4. This is teaching and learning activities and materials of preparatory reading and reading in the grade 1 phase. What is phonological awareness? Now, I've got the answer there for you. Phonological awareness is the ability to identify and make oral rhymes, identify syllables in spoken words, and the ability for a child to hear and to identify. 4.4. What should a beginning reading program for sound letter includes? That will be on page 218. Then identify 7 benefits of reading aloud to children. What is the 7 benefits of reading aloud to children. In Unit 5, Assessment of Reading and Learner Support for Early Reading Difficulties. 5.1. What is the basic competencies for preparatory reading? Preparatory means pre-primary. What is the basic competencies for preparatory or pre-primary reading? Define a reading readiness test. What is a reading readiness test? Reading difficulties that a pre-primary learner may display. What is the reading difficulties that a pre-primary learner may display? Activities to support learners who have vocabulary problems. You will find that on page 291. There are different activities that a teacher can do to help learners who experience problems with vocabulary. A summary of a few of the questions with their answers. What is the benefits and advantages that highlight the importance of reading? That will be, the more you read to a child, the more knowledge they absorb. Reading to babies and toddlers give them a head start for school. Reading with children gives them skills they need when they start reading themselves. Show them to follow words across the page from left to right. Turning pages are just as important for pre-reading skills as reading itself. Children who enjoy reading do better in language and literacy. If a child does not understand what he or she is reading, he or she may show some deficits in reading. Explain the consequences that these deficits may relate to. First, it can bring inadequate understanding of words used in a text, no knowledge about the context of the text. The children did not understand the semantic and syntactic structures, a lack of knowledge about writing conventions like humor, explanation, and dialogue. They have no verbal reasoning ability to read, as we say, between the lines. They will have a lack of ability to remember verbal information. Another question that is very important is, how can you as a teacher motivate your learners to become lovers of reading? You can read with expression. You yourself, when you read a book to your children, read with expression. Perform the voices of the different characters in the story. Read slowly so that learners have time to think about what is happening. You as a teacher must show that you have fun with reading. Pause when you're reading to let children study the pictures so that they can understand and relate to the story. Pay special attention to your learners. You might stop and ask a few questions to help them connect with the story. Pause to let them predict. Ask questions like, what do you think will happen next? Motivate your learners to guess answers. Never shut down a learner's prediction. Always encourage them to other possibilities. Ask learners to pretend to be the characters themselves. Why did they behave in a particular way. Pay attention to the learner's body language. If they get bored and fidget, just adjust your reading. You can also shorten the time to read a book next time. Children need time to develop interest in books. Read stories aloud that are short and have bright colors. Children love bright colors. Be sure of their likes and their dislikes and make sure this element is included in each reading time. Another important question can be, children who have difficulties with visual memory may also find it difficult to perform the following. If a child has difficulty with visual memory, he may also find difficulties in performing the following tasks. He may find difficulties in copying from a chalkboard, replicating information on a worksheet, comprehending reading, remembering sight words, transferring learned words from one medium to another, remembering what was read, reproducing figures from memory, will only copy one letter or number at a time from the board. Another important question, what is the benefits of reading aloud to pre-primary children? Reading aloud to pre-primary children. Help them to associate reading with warm, pleasant feelings. Learns them about words, language, and expand listening skills. Learns them how language of books differs from spoken language. They listen to sounds in words and notice similarities and differences. They build vocabularies. They gain background knowledge about a variety of topics. They can talk about the characters, setting, and plot of the story. They can learn about print concepts. Print is spoken words written down. Letters in words are written in a certain order. Written words are separated by spaces. This is the benefits when you read aloud to your pre-primary children. What is the criteria, or what criteria will you as a teacher look at when choosing a book for a pre-primary learner? You will look for books that is big, that has bright and big illustrations. You will look at simple stories with basic plots. Books that help answer a preschool's why questions about the word. You will look at the rhyming text, classic stories with universal themes, friendship and generosity, activity books that encourage exploration, observation, and play, bedtime stories to calm them down after a busy day. This is a new question now. Identify what a beginning reading program for sound letter should include. Common sound letter relations taught directly. Phonemic awareness activities combined with sound letter relations. Opportunities to practice sound letter relations in all lessons. Opportunities that include new sound letter relations. Opportunities for learners to apply their expanding knowledge to the reading of regular spelled words and are familiar in meaning to them. The teacher can point out to the letters as they sound out the words. The next question is identify the 7 important benefits of reading aloud to children. Please note, this is the benefits of reading to all children, not pre-primary children only. It develops a strong vocabulary in children. It builds connection between the spoken and the written word. It provides enjoyment. It increases a child's attention span. It strengthens cognition. It provides a way of exploring emotions. It promotes bonding. Now define a reading readiness test. A reading readiness test will emphasize the skills required for the early stages of reading. These skills include oral vocabulary, rhyming, visual matching of figures, letters and words, naming letters and reading words. What type of learner support can a teacher offer to help a learner who experiences vocabulary problems? You can play oral and written word exercises and games. You can point out important, useful and difficult vocabulary words before they read the text. You can offer opportunities to encounter target vocabulary words beyond the context in which they are taught. You can taught vocabulary words should be used often in oral and writing. Teach vocabulary via instruction and independent readings. Help children to use context clues to understand the meaning of the words. Provide examples of helpful and less helpful clues. Read to your class each day. Pause and define new or interesting words while reading to your class. After reading, always engage them in conversations about the book. Engage children in conversations every day and try to include new and interesting words in your daily conversations. Students, if you learn and if you go through and read through this presentation and paying special attention to the questions and the answers at the end, I know you will be successful in this year's course. I want to wish you the best of luck for your whole year in 2020 as well as your examinations. Thank you very much.